It didn't warn me this time. All right, so we're at 6:01 and we're going to call the board meeting number 994 to order. And I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and St'át'imc nations. With that, we have an agenda recommendation. It's in the amended agenda from when this was first sent out.
That the amended agenda of this meeting be approved.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there a second for that? Thank you, Cynthia. Objections? Seeing none, then we have 3-minute recommendations.
That the minutes of the board meeting held on May 14th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Cynthia. A second for that. Thank you, Melissa. Any objections? Okay, seeing none, then that's accepted. Two more.
That the summary minutes of the in-camera board meeting held on May 14th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, April. Any objections? Seeing none, then we have one more.
And finally, that the summary minutes of the special in-camera board meeting held on May 14th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Cynthia. Second for that. Thank you, Melissa. Any objections? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then that's carried. So that brings us to our announcements section. First up, our chairperson's remarks. I guess I'll just do a little report out on activities I've had since our last meeting. I attended the school learning plan session at Pemberton Secondary, and that was absolutely fabulous to be in the school. Realizing that I graduated from there, what was it, 38 years ago? I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, that was awesome to be there, to have the presentations, and one of the exciting pieces that I saw was student-driven composting program set up. So that's to me quite exciting. Then went to Calhoun. I see the rest of the trustees will be reporting out in the next section, but I'll just comment right now. So the Calhoun school visit is always, it's one of the faves of the year, and the students are just amazing. And last year they had their first graduate from the school, and we were able to see him working for Murphy Construction just outside the windows. So that was, the kids were excited about it, and it was really, really awesome to see. And checking out their garden and a little walk in the community. The kids are just hilarious. Like one point I'm walking along and the road's got really fine dust, and she's lying down in it. Like, oh no. So anyway, it was great. Colleen was driving the vehicle I was in and got me there very safely. So I was happy about that. And then I attended a board chairs call on the 29th. And that's hosted by BC School Trustees Association. They tend to be every month or two, depending if there's anything emergent coming up. On the 4th, I spent the day here doing principal recruitment, and this we were recruiting for the pool. So that was a good, I don't know, 9-hour day or something like that. On the 10th, we had a Zoom meeting with the minister. She's she's meeting with all 60 districts, and to talk about our priorities. And so we did that. And then following that, the same day we had our agenda setting. And then on the 12th, I was interviewed regarding a performance review. So just a regular performance review on one of our directors. And I think that was it, other than a few phone calls along the way, I think. So that is it for chairperson remarks. Oh, wait, I missed one. We met with Village Pemberton Mayor and Council last week. And thank you to those who drove up and met with them. And I think we are committed to meeting on a more regular basis. And yeah, that's it for now. So if there aren't any questions, we can move on to our trustee remarks. So I think we have down on the agenda the Calculum visit for some feedback from those who attended. Sure. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah, Calcum is always, like Rebecca said, it's a favorite, and not that everyone else isn't fantastic. It's just, it's a special place out there. We made fairy garden accessories with the kids. So there was windows to be made and fences to be made, and they put us to work building fairy gardens. And then we went with the kids out to the gardens where they could set up the fairies' new spots, and that was really fun. They made us a delicious lunch, and we were gifted a surprise, the best cinnamon buns I've ever had in my life. That's not even a joke. It was amazing. And so, yeah, really great day out, beautiful weather. And then last week we had our year end for the homestay kids at North Arm Farm. It was really fun to have, this is the first year I've made it. We've been homestay, this is our 4th year, I think. It's the first time we've made it to the year end celebration. They did a really great job. It was nice to see all the kids together, having fun with their homestay families and the homestay kids with the family kids, and it was really great. And then this past weekend, I was at Grad for PSS, which was really special for me, as I have a graduate this year, and then was there on behalf of you guys as the trustees. So it was a really special day, really beautiful grad, and I'm really grateful to everyone who put so much hard work into getting those graduates to where they are today. I know that for some it was a real push at the end, my son being one of them, and I'm really proud of them all. I'm really proud of the staff and the crew and everyone who graduated and got graduates where they are. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. There you go.
I am too.
Okay, so I too made the trip to Calcutta. It's also the drive up there is beautiful, and even though it's a bit rocky, it's nice to have conversation on the drive. What I really love about Calcutta is it just feels like such a community school. Like people come and join you for lunch, and kids come and go, and little toddlers come in, and it just feels like it's more than a school. It almost feels like a second home for a lot of the folk up there. So a lot of the people out there, I really love going to that building. And once again, it was a beautiful hot day, so it was good. I too also met with the minister. And that I thought was a very valuable experience. And I'm happy to see that this minister is meeting with every single school board in British Columbia. That's a good look for education. I also met too with the Village of Pemberton, and that was my first opportunity to meet with the mayor and council. So another great experience. On a more fun, quieter note, I did attend, not necessarily as a trustee, more as a grandmother, but I did attend the sports day at Garibaldi Highlands School, which for me, it was great just to be with little children in that very relaxed environment. I ran the concession and I had children come up bartering. If can I trade you a rock for a bag of chips? Can I sing a song? Could you possibly give me a bag of chips? Anyways, I loved it. I really enjoyed my day, and that was last Friday morning. And then last Friday evening, I was fortunate enough to have the honor of giving the trustee speech at the Howe Sound Secondary graduation, and I spoke on behalf of all of us here in this room, and that was another lovely experience. Those, for me personally, the children that graduated on Friday night was the last group of kids that I taught before I left my classroom. So it was super, super special. It was a really great evening. I also, the week before actually, attended the Indigenous graduation at Totem Hall, another really community event with amazing food and a slide presentation where every Indigenous student that graduated had a profile up on the screen, and they, amongst all the other things, they listed their favorite teacher. And I got to tell you, Heather Lewis, favorite teacher, over and over and over, to the point that I'm texting her, I'm saying, Heather, really? This is like amazing. Everybody just absolutely loves you. So not that they didn't, but it was just really obvious that somehow she is making great connections. One of our teachers making great connections with our Indigenous students. So a big thank you to the Indigenous graduation. It was wonderful. I'm happy to have had the experience. Thank you. It's been a busy June. June is like over the top.
Isn't over yet.
June, like, hold on.
Right. Thank you, April.
Sure. Yeah, like you say, June is not over yet. On Sunday, I'm really happy that I'll be, on behalf of the trustees, going to the Whistler Secondary School graduation and giving the trustee address. So I'm looking forward to that. It's always, I don't know, I love going to graduation ceremonies. It's such an important day for kids and an important day for their families, and well, it makes me feel good to be a part of that. So I'll be happy to be there on Sunday and be able to give that address on behalf of the trustees. Kalakum, again, like, it's just a fantastic place. I think that we're lucky that we get to peek into the windows of those kids and those families' lives for a little bit of time, because it is really a lovely place. And I did notice they had a small playground set up behind the healthcare center. And so I was really pleased to see that that was there. I'm sure that they would like to have more playground equipment, but I was really happy to see that there was a little bit there to get them started with some playground equipment. So that's really nice. The garden was great. The kids all seemed happy. The adults all seemed happy. Fantastic. Also in June, April and I were both on a call with the South Coast Branch Presidents Association, going over some of the things that need to be taken care of with regards to South Coast Branch Constitution and a few other details. So that was informative. I was on the call to the minister, and just like April said, like, it was really nice that we were able to be a part of that meeting and be able to advocate for what we need specifically in our district. And I really think that some of the things that we talked about, she really took note of. And so that was really meaningful time. And then I just wanted to give a quick little shout out to the kids at Whistler Secondary School, the grade 8 and 9 girls and the grade 9 boys, who won the North Shore Mountain Biking banner, and the rugby team, who won the Tier 2 AA Boys Provincial Championship.
Wow.
So good job. That's it for me.
Thanks, Cynthia. Rachel, did you want to add? I know you didn't make it to Calhoun, but do you want to add?
No, I was really sad to miss that because I was sick. I didn't want to pass that on. But no, I was also in attendance at the secondary school planning visits. That was great. As Rebecca mentioned. And then the meetings with the Minister of Education and Childcare, and our visit with the Village of Pemberton. It was nice to see them. We haven't met with the current council, so it was good to have that meeting. Well,
Thank you.
It's the last night. I have just a couple items. So I was able to attend yesterday the graduation walk that the grade 12s do from HSS to Squamish Elementary all around the school. And then there's a big hat throwing with the graduating grade 6s and grade 12s. I'll circulate a picture afterwards. I don't know if Chris, if you normally see pictures, it's been going on for 7 years or so now. Is that right, Sarah? Yeah, and then this is the second year where they've had kids who graduated from Squamish Elementary go around. So really beautiful little ceremony. And I just want to do a quick report out on DPAC. So we met with DPAC a couple of weeks ago. I am not too sure what the date was, because I didn't write it down, but I think it was 2 Mondays ago, something like that. Paul, Chris, and I were in attendance. I'll quickly say that they are still looking for DPAC reps for Blackwater and StatMed. So if there's any parents who are interested in serving on their PAC and then potentially serving as a DPAC rep, it's an excellent opportunity to do advocacy for your school and community and learn more about what's going on in the district. Myself, Chris, and Paul are typically in attendance. At this last meeting, Paul reported out on changes to reporting on student learning. I reported out on changes in surpluses and budget changes. Chris had a very long list of things that he reported out on that I'll maybe let you speak to. As always, Marin Corkery came and gave an update on Feeding Futures and made sure that the PAC was aware of the food available in the schools and made sure that parents are aware that any child is welcome to go and help themselves to the food that is available in the schools, and really gave a good talk about just normalizing access to food and how this is the way forward within our schools. And they talked about how a treasurer will be needed for DPAC. So the outgoing treasurer has stepped down. So if there's anyone who feels moved to do that work, I don't think it is a huge amount of work, and it's an excellent way to get involved with DPAC. And the final thing that I'll say is they are planning a viewing of Screenagers. I think it will be maybe they haven't sorted out the details, but they will have an online option and then an in-person option with facilitated discussion. Planning is still underway about that, and there will be more to come in the fall. And that is it for DPAC. Great, thank you.
Start posted it in a couple weeks ago.
Thank you. Okay, so we can move on to the superintendent's remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I have a lot to report out on. I will not maybe piggyback on or double up on some of the things already said. I just want to address a couple things. I will follow up quickly though with the DPAC while it's on my mind. Most folks, if you're zooming in today, from public, thank you for being here. And for the trustees, when I do my year ahead presentation, some of the highlights that I spoke to at DPAC are in that presentation. So maybe I'll wait for them to do that work. I'll also share though that they had their AGM where they had their votes. Each year, DPAC has an AGM to fulfill their positions, and as Celeste said, they're still looking for a secretary treasurer. But I just want to thank the DPAC for their engagement this year. It's a fantastic group of folks, and I want to assure parents that you're very well represented by your DPAC reps. So I'll share the details of that a little bit later. I do want to begin though really by just acknowledging for the folks in Squamish. I want to do a public thank you and acknowledgement of all the hard work of the firefighters, and all first responders and community partners during the Dryden Creek wildfire. We're all very, very thankful for their dedication to protect homes, lands, and safety of people, most important. And happy to report that fire is considered held, which is moved from the much more worrisome status of being out of control. So again, we will endeavor to do our best to keep people informed and involved. And I hope folks found, hopefully our response is timely and our communication to families. We know we had lots of anxious folks about the fire in Squamish and up and down the corridor really, because we know we have that one main road, and if changes happen, folks need to know. So big thank you to all those folks, and a thank you to our facilities department, and specifically Ian Curry, who is our director of operations and is our main source of information and the contact for BC Wildfire Service and the District of Squamish. So thank you to him as well. And now into the news. So June is full of recognitions and celebrations of many types. So I want to first start by just recognizing that June is Pride Month, a time to celebrate diversity and affirm our collective commitment to fostering inclusive, safe, and welcoming environments for all. And I'm super thankful for all the work done in our district to ensure that every student, every staff member, and every family feels that they belong. We know we can do more and are committed to doing so. And I want to state that from my perspective, from what I see, this commitment to equity and inclusion is more than just a value. It's a daily practice that we see every day in our schools and in our sites, and it is a promise to every learner in our care. Also, of course, June is National Indigenous History Month. And just pointing out that June 21st is Indigenous Peoples Day. And so, of course, during this month, but not only this month, but we do highlight it, that we recognize the rich history, heritage, resilience, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples across Canada. And whenever I speak about these acknowledgement of months or days, just that reminder each time that you can always go to our website, either at the district website or through the schools, where you will always find links to the acknowledgement and celebration of the folks that make up our community. On the related news around Indigenous education, I do want to share again that it was Thursday, May 22nd, that I did attend with lots of other folks, a gathering at Totem Hall for the year-end Indigenous Youth Leadership Gathering. I think they had the most attendance by students ever. So we had students from Akola, obviously from the Pemberton schools, from Whistler, from all over. It was very, very well attended by students. Students were super engaged, lots of fantastic opportunities to learn, to celebrate together, to eat together, to listen to some fantastic drumming, singing, dancing. It was a beautiful celebration. And I was just honored to be there, and really just blown away by the engagement of our students that were clearly proud of who they are. And a big thank you to all the staff, and also, of course, Indigenous rights holders who made this event happen. Also, I want to share, we know that students at Statman School were hoping to come to do a presentation, but it conflicted with another event they're having right now. So the principal of the school, Cor Hartling, wanted me to also share that leading up to an event that happened last night, the school had been on a learning journey all around pit cooks. And there was lots of experiential learning that had been thoughtfully integrated into the daily experiences of every classroom, bridging multiple curricular areas. Through this exploration, students engaged with traditional knowledge and practices via language learning, investigating geomorphology by identifying rock types suitable for pit cooking, authored social stories to support younger peers, delved into traditional harvesting and cooking methods, and again, made a real experiential land-based cross-curricular inquiry around pit cooks. They had planned to go to Alice Lake, which of course had been off bounds due to the wildfire. But I can report that I was thrilled to be invited to the event that was held at Statman School last night. And there was beautiful food to be had for everyone. There was an honoring ceremony for the students moving on to Housetown Secondary or Don Ross, depending on where they were going to go, honoring of the teachers. and community that has supported the students. And did want to mention a word for all of us to learn, although I know some of you already know it. The word for the gathering, a type of potlatch, the specific word, is and this my time here and say it right. Galashand, that's it, Galashand. And that's a gathering that honors and celebrates the work of community, and really appreciated how the community were there to stand up the students. And again, like Kalakaua, it's a school where you truly feel that it's a community of folks that support the students at that school. So really a lovely thing to be a part of. Last night I had my fill of salmon, cooked all kinds of ways of beautiful bannock, a great lasagna, and lots of other treats. On the theme again of Indigenous education, I also visited the Indigenous Garden and School Farm open house that happened on June 13th. And it's a reminder for if folks ever want to visit, this is located on shared property between House Sound Secondary School and Squamish Elementary School. Every Wednesday from 3 to 6 is an opportunity to do a tour, to buy some of the produce that's on sale, and to learn more about the amazing work going on there. I was given a very informative tour through the space by a very passionate grade 10 student who's completed her first year of farm studies, which is a locally developed and board approved course, and her level of knowledge of place, of pesticide-free planting, farming, of what types of vegetables grow together. Again, incorporating the Indigenous knowledge around, they call them the three sisters. So those types of vegetables that grow best together. Was really, again, indicative of the power of experiential land-based learning. Unfortunately, the elders weren't able to make it, so there will be another opportunity. And I hope some of you can join if you're able, where the elders will be honored and given a guided tour of the newly developed Indigenous medicinal garden as well. So I got a few more things to go, almost done. Of course, I do want to take the opportunity to extend, on behalf of staff, congratulations to all the graduates of 2025. Again, had the pleasure of attending and speaking at the Indigenous grad at Totem Hall on June 5th, as well as, and thank you to Paul for accompanying me to the House Sound secondary grad last Friday, the Pemberton grad on Saturday, and we're really looking forward to the Whistler grad this Sunday. And then last, but certainly not least, as we wind up the school year, as always, but genuinely a big thank you to staff for all their work this year, in too many ways to list, for all they do, obviously, to support the students in their care, to take care of the buildings that house those students, the transportation on the buses to get them there, all the various ways that students are supported. And of course, thank you again to families and who entrust their children in our care. Thank you for that partnership and that trust. And of course, the students, because at the end of the day, while we celebrate, right, the achievements of the students and all its forms, we know that it in many ways reflects the hard work of all those that support them, but equally, and perhaps even more importantly, the ongoing challenges that students face really guide us in what we need to do in order to do and to be better. Thank you very much.
It's great, Chris. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Chris? No? Okay. So Secretary Treasurer's remarks.
I don't have anything other than just to say that if there's any questions of clarification from the public, they can be emailed to board@sd48.pbc.ca. And they should be related to board agenda items, and we'll do our best to answer them.
And apologies to the screen. I need to pop up and plug my computer in. I just realized it unplugged. Oh, thank you.
Did you give the email address? Oh. I was watching you. I'm so tired. Thank you.
Got a call.
Okay,
Sorry.
can I just get ahead?
Pardon me?
Um,
Yes, please skip past me because we do have.
yeah, we'll
Yes,
come back to, we'll come back to you.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna move to 5, receiving delegations. We have on Zoom representatives from the Pemberton Arts Council regarding the mural at Signal Hill. You'll see the delegation request is attached as well as the mural. And Clea, that you put the request in?
Yes, it's me. Yes. Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Clea Thomas. I work for the Pemberton Arts Council. I'm the executive director. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm really excited to present you this project. Did you have a chance to look at the delegation? Should I read the topic of discussion or should I just present the project?
No, we just covered the project. I think everyone should be able to, should have read the delegation request.
Okay, so I'll just, yeah, if you want to open the design. So for the last 2 years, we've worked with Alex Folks. So this is going to be the 3rd year that we work with him. He does amazing youth mural camps. So we usually have 12 teenagers from grade 8 till 12. And so usually it's a 4-day camp where the teenagers learn how to design a mural and how to paint a mural. Now, because this time around, so I'm presenting this visual to you. Usually how it works with the youth mural camp is that the teenagers work together to create a design. Now we've been approached by the FireSmart team in Pemberton because they really loved the 2 murals we've done in the past, and they thought it would be great to have a community preparedness mural in town. And I don't know if you've been or in Pemberton and you see on the Signal Hill Elementary School, there's this wall when you get out from downtown and you drive away out of Pemberton. There's a great wall that would be perfect for this mural. And yes, so we hope you like the design and that we can go ahead. The dates for the mural would be July 15th to 18th with the reveal party on the Friday afternoon. And what else can I say? We have the budget is, like we have everything ready. So we have it's a $12,000 budget, and so we have the BC Arts Council paying for $5,000. The Village of Pemberton is also paying for $5,000, and then there's the FireSmart. FireSmart is also paying for the rest. So we're just waiting for the approval, and then we can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Melissa and then Cynthia?
I had no idea that murals were that expensive. Wow. I really love the idea of having the kids go together with designing this. I'm not sure how accurate you want it to be to Pemberton. I've never seen a fox in Pemberton. I'm just going with the rest of the layout here. I think it looks great. I'm not sure what the logistics are with painting a mural on a school. But I look forward to hearing if there's any rules about that.
So the idea was to have a FireSmart theme mural. Now the fox is called Amber. It's the icon. It's the emblem for FireSmart. So it was just the idea to have her on the mural, and then there are some elements in the visual. For example, there's you know, like there's the forest fire hazard, you know, like this sign that, you know, you can explain. The idea is for the Fire Smart team, when they come to the school, then they will have this mural where they can explain what they do, and they can show some very important you know, like for example, the sign, the fire hazard, like they can explain, okay, when you see the little arrow on the red, it's really bad, you can't have a fire. Then there's a campfire, and how to properly have a safe way to have your campfire. You have a bucket of water near it, and you don't have anything lying around. So it's all the visual that the Fire Smart team will use when they come to the school, and also a daily reminder for the residents and tourists that to be fire smart.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. That is Amber, who is a part of Fire Smart. Thank you. That makes more sense.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just a little bit curious about whether or not you have any information about the longevity of a mural on the side of a building, and if you have any ideas about like the maintenance or what happens to it when it has lived its healthy life. And what do you do when it's starting to, you know, look a little weather beaten or whatever happens after murals have been on the side of buildings for quite some time?
So usually a mural would be up for, like, we're going to use very high quality paint, so it will last a very long time. Now it's also, you know, if the mural is well received and the youth mural camp is a great success over the years, maybe in a few, you know, maybe in 5, 8 years, it will be a new canvas, right? We can have a new mural there. There's lots of walls in Pemberton, so, but this wall is particularly nice because you know, it's well seen from the road and from the school. So from the students, sorry. So the longevity of it, yes, it's at least 10 years. I would say even more. There's if we're going to use good quality paint, so. And I just wanted to add, so we'll have 12 students joining the youth mural camp, and we usually, you know, we strongly believe in equity, inclusion, and diversity, and we offer free 5 bursaries for Indigenous youth, and yes, we've been pretty successful with this over the years, so we hope to see a lot of people joining this camp in July. And
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Oh, Krista, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm not there in person with you today. I thank you very much, Clea, for putting this all together, and to our local fire department. The Fire Smart crew are working closely with our school here. So I think this is, I love the idea of putting something together for a mural and a teaching opportunity for our students in our community. One of the things that I just looking at feedback, because I did get the draft and I sent this out to Clea as well, is just the Indigenous component to it. It feels like that actually was when I showed every single staff member that I shared it with, the opportunity, that was the number one thing that came out was how do we get more Indigenous, how do we indigenize it a little bit more? There was thought of maybe putting Indigenous animal prints maybe through the trees. So I just feel that that's something that's missing. And then the other thing, I mentioned this to you, Clea, as well, is that the mountains, and I know this is a draft, so there'll be mountains out there, but if we could localize them, so more Mount Currie, Mount Meager, just because right now they look not Pemberton-y. And so that I think I'm just looking at our community, and I'm somebody that lives in this community, and I feel that will be commented on the Pemberton Forum. So just that's something to maybe look at. Other than that, though, I just also remembering that this is a teaching tool. So I think everything on it is really good. And Merrick I see is on here as well. And I think that's something that I think we talked about this before as well with the whole idea of the mural being that teaching tool so that you can take the kids back to it so that we could have lessons out there and incorporate our learning that they're doing with the Fire Smart, because it is important, as we've seen in Squamish this year and also in where we live right now, that we do need to be making sure that education is out there for our community. So Kuchum Kalip for doing all of this to all of you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Chris?
Yeah, I just want to, again, thank you for the work and proposal. I do want to reiterate, thank you, Krista. I was thinking the same thing when I saw the image. So,
Yeah.
Clea, just respectfully, when we have requests for art on our buildings, we obviously take that very seriously, and we take our commitment to truth and reconciliation. We take a commitment to place-based learning. We take a commitment to honoring the place where our buildings stand. So I concur that I don't know from staff's perspective what our recommendation would be at this point. It's a very, very quick turnaround. If this is for a July opportunity, I just want to respectfully say it's quite a big ask of the board at the last board meeting of the year to be able to make a decision, because at the end of the day, the board does have jurisdiction over our buildings. So I'm just a little concerned about timeline, respectfully, and also ensuring, as Krista said, has there been that consultation with rights holders? That's a big there's new legislation around the involvement of, and rightly so. We just spoke about earlier today, and so I just would ask how you may go about ensuring that consultation with the whole community, including the Leewat people on whose land the school is done. Thank you.
I'll just add that we're also doing another mural on the Pemberton Valley supermarket, and this will start in September. And so I've been talking to the cultural chief of Lillooet Nation about, like what we should have in the mural. And so I feel pretty confident that I can also talk to him again about this mural and have some answers and some elements that should be included in this mural. And as mentioned, also, we do offer 5 spots for Indigenous youth free of charge. And like there's a discussion too, like we'll obviously keep the visual, the main aspect of the visual. It's and then they can be the details can also be added. Obviously, we'll keep, that's the idea, but some, like the trees can be painted a certain way, the mountains can be painted a certain way, but we'll keep the general idea. We won't have like. Yeah, I think the main issue also was depicting fire in a scary way, which is not what we're gonna do. The only fire we'll have is just a campfire, and just showing how to properly have a campfire and the safe way to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have all the information we needed at this point. So generally what happens, we're gonna have to figure out, because generally what happens is we take the time to review and then get back to you, but we have a month and we don't meet in July, generally speaking. Oh, okay, Celeste, and then April.
I'm just thinking that, are they needing our approval? And if so,
Yes.
can we make a motion from the board that we approve the idea of a mural, and that with the provision that it is approved like this stuff before I mean, I put my faith in Chris that she's gonna be able to make sure that it has the pieces that we're concerned about. Is that a possibility?
Well, there's two pieces, right? We want to make sure that there's Indigenous
Yeah. And
reflected in the mural itself, plus the consultation piece,
Right.
plus there's more than, that it reflects more of the area.
Mhm.
Those are the three that I can think of
Right.
at this point.
So I feel confident in those three pieces. Approving the idea of a mural on one of our buildings. And having final approval, either Krista and Chris, or however that works.
Or staff, just say
Yeah.
staff.
The staff approval.
Yeah, I want to be respectful of Krista's time. She's wrapping up her school year and
No.
her last day is the
Next
fifth or 56th of July. So I don't want to put any additional pressures on Krista, so staff can support it. I know Krista will absolutely do what she can, but I also want to be respectful
Yeah.
of that. Can we be reminded again of the deadline that you would need, Clea, for
So
this?
Yes, the camp will start on the 15th of July. So that's when they would start. So anytime before that, I should probably give you how long would you need to make a decision?
What we, if I may, what we need, I think the board is asking for that proof of and feedback from the nation. And that addressed in a resubmission of a mock-up of that would incorporate, again, play space where we are in terms of like the mountains, for example, being a representation of Tazeel, which would be lovely. And of course, those Indigenous elements, without ensuring that we're appropriating, and that isn't, again, that should not, I'm just going to go for it respectfully, right? That we want to ensure that's not being done or thought up by a non-Indigenous artist who hasn't first had that opportunity and consultation, because we need to be very much aware of our colonial past and ensuring that this is done in a meaningful way, especially on a school in a public school district that is committed to truth and reconciliation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Celeste?
Yeah, I was going to suggest almost the identical idea that we don't need to hear this again. I think, and I think Chris has articulated very valid concerns. It sounds like it's a really short timeline for what needs to happen before approval could be granted, and that it is possible that this might not be the year, but an excellent idea. So I agree with April. I don't think the board needs to be part of the discussion again. And perhaps we'll make a decision at some point in the future, maybe at a special meeting next week, because the board's already meeting at that time.
Do you want to make a motion? Oh, Melissa?
So would it be safe to say that we would be able to approve this if it was if we had a new draft by next week? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what both, I think both April and Celeste are saying that.
Yeah.
And trust that staff will ensure that our request is, because really it's not necessarily clear. It's not necessarily how much time we need, is how much time do you need to get the legwork done?
Yeah.
When are you meeting next week? What date?
Next Wednesday.
We have a special meeting on Wednesday morning.
Okay. I will check with the artists. I am pretty confident I could get an answer from the cultural chief by then.
Great.
And otherwise, do you have any other meetings after that, or that's it for the year?
September.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I apologize for the late submission for this. My apologies.
Okay.
But if I can get it done by next Wednesday, then I'll obviously let's say on Tuesday, I should have everything done. And if I am not, then I will send you an email saying that it was not possible to get everything ready. And I guess that will be a no for this project for this year. If
Okay.
I understand this correctly.
Thank you. Chris, do you think you have all the information of what the board
Yes.
would like to
thank you.
see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you very much for, I know we put you on the spot there and I appreciate the spirit in which you took the constructive suggestions. Thank you so
Of
much.
course, yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome to stay on the call if you want.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista. Bye.
Thanks, Krista.
Bye.
Okay. So now we can move, we'll go back up to student and staff presentation. And we have the superintendent's year in review.
Were we going to, if I may, were we going to maybe the other staff member to present first? So she didn't. If I may just add
those chairs.
agenda.
Yeah.
You're right, motioning.
Until you're paid.
Read.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. That's the microphone.
All right. Okay, so Archie, do you have the slide deck? Okay. All right, well, I just want to start off by saying a quick thank you to Sarah and also Katrina Doherty, who's not here. But Sarah and Katrina have put in hours and hours of time on various projects, curricular projects, including this one. So what we wanted to do was just present to you some changes that the district is going to be making to how we communicate on student learning next year. So just for the information of the board and for any public who may be watching, just a reminder that this year we started with a new, or actually last year we started with a new communicating student learning approach based on new guidelines that were developed by the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And we have a structure where we meet regularly with a group of representative teachers from all of the schools. And we've had a lot of discussion about how it's going. We've had some parent feedback. And so what we decided to do based on all of the feedback that we've had is to make some changes that we think will make some improvements for everyone, for students, for parents, for teachers, just so for better information. So we have a little bit of a few slides just to go through to give you a gist of what it's going to look like next year. And I think what we learned from this work is the tweaks never end.
No.
But we're always tweaking things to make them better. So
Yeah.
which is I guess a good thing. So, okay, Sarah, do you want to take this first?
Yeah, for sure. So from the feedback, here are some considerations that we went through. Increased consistency for parents and guardians regarding timing of communicating student learning. Improvements to workflow for teachers and administrators, and then improve the information for parents and guardians for what they receive.
Right. So what's happening right now is if we look at the first bullet in December, we have kind of a range of dates that the first report can go out. And so some parents might receive it in mid-December, some parents might receive it in mid-January or anywhere in between. And what we've heard is that can be confusing and create some uncertainty. And so we're going to address that. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, so one of the exercises that we did with the group is the teacher committee is we kind of asked everyone to kind of do some brainstorming about what we value about communicating student learning. What should it accomplish? We came up with these shared values. I mean, we've done this before, but this was just sort of to reaffirm what those shared values are, to make sure that whatever changes that we made to our approach reflect these shared values. So, of course, we want to provide families with timely and clear information on student learning. And we want to make sure that all of the evidence of learning that we share with families supports that notion of goal setting for students. So it's not just about here's the work. There's some feedback on it. It's really about improving learning moving forward and helping families and students to know what the next steps should be in terms of where they're going with their learning. And we want to make sure that, you know, the process has a positive impact on student learning. It should be hopefully, as I said before, like a motivation to set goals and to think ahead rather than sort of dwell on maybe, you know, not doing as well on that test as you wanted to do. And, you know, that's what I remember from when I was in school. That's kind of what report cards were all about. And that's what we've been trying to change over the last decade, actually, in terms of our approach.
Okay, so term 1 and term 3 will look very similar to each other. So we talked about that fixed date. We did have a range so you could get that first report until January 15th. And I think that got a bit confusing for families, not knowing, especially if they had 2 siblings in a school. So just having that fixed date for the written learning update. And then, so that will be in December and then again in June. Descriptive feedback will be included on the written learning update with the proficiency scale. And then a holistic comment will be part of that. That we've always had that holistic comment. It used to be called global comment and it's now holistic comment, but that's because it addresses the attributes, interests, behavior, well-being, interactions with peers, that kind of information, and then overarching next steps in that comment.
Any questions on this slide before we move on? This is really all about term 1. Is that clear? Okay.
Hope, I think.
I think we've missed one.
That's okay.
It's lagging on her and then.
Yeah, so I'll just speak to this before I get into the bullet points. One of the things, a feature of our new approach was that teachers were sending home examples of student work that had descriptive written feedback about the work itself. And then it also had a proficiency scale, that 4-point scale indicated on the work. And because we were doing that all throughout the year, there was less information on the actual, I'll call it report card, the report card that came out in December, March, and at the end of the year. So while we think that's a good practice, that was one of the pieces of feedback that was challenging to be doing that work all throughout the year. And so what we decided to do, so in that first term, you can see that most of the information is now going back on the December report card. So in term 2, we're going to focus on that sort of evidence of learning because we still think it's an important practice. And we're going to put much less emphasis on our report card in March. As a matter of fact, what we're hoping to do is sort of eliminate the need for the MyEdDC report card in March, and that the families would get all of the information that they need from receiving some good examples of student work with the feedback rate on that work, and pair that also with typically a face-to-face informal report in second term also sort of reinforces that feedback. So that first bullet point is about that notion where the proficiency scale and evidence is included on the evidence of learning. Yeah, I think I kind of summarized all 3 of those bullet points just in my description. So are there any questions about that piece?
Yeah. When you're seeing those like pieces of evidence of learning in that semester, will all of the subject areas be touched upon? Like, will the teachers have to like send one for numeracy and literacy and everything for every student?
Yeah, that's right. Now, numeracy, literacy, socials and science, if they've reported heavily on one of those in the first term, then maybe it might be either socials or science in the second term. But remember, there are a lot of other curricular areas that are things like PE, ADST, art, music, all of those areas. And so what we are asking teachers to do is to try to provide some information on some of those things within their holistic comment, because to report out specifically on each of those curriculums, to say, what are some goals that the student should be setting for future learning, the written feedback, the proficiency scale. It is a lot, and some of those curricular areas, it's very challenging to be reporting on those things 3 times a year, especially for a primary student. I mean, it's tricky. So we feel that where we want the energy, but is on things like the literacy, numeracy, socials and science, and then those other things, while they're very important, there will be information on those things, but not in the formal way that we've required before. And so that helps take a little bit of that helps with the workflow for sure, for teachers. And we think it's going to provide parents with what they need. And while we're talking about this, before I forget, because this isn't in one of the slides, we've had some challenges with MyEdBC because some schools have been asking that parents log in to access the report cards. And that's never been a mandate of the school district. As a matter of fact, we've always recommended not to do that. But for some reason, that's been happening. And so we're going to again remind, and I think the schools are aligned with this too. It's just we're not sure what happened. It got lost in the communication somehow. But we know that that's been a source of frustration. So we want to make it very clear that the written learning updates, formerly known as report cards, should be sent home just printed. And folks don't have to worry about the frustration of not being able to log in. And if people still want to log in to MyEdBC, they can do that at any time, check the attendance, check out all those things. That's still available. Folks can continue to do that. It's just, we don't want them to have to access their child's information, because it shouldn't be something that is frustrating and difficult to do. And you should just be able to pull it out of the backpack and sit down with your child and read it together and talk about it.
I think Celeste has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to summarize what I'm hearing. So it sounds like you're creating a more easily accessible snapshot that parents can digest at various points in the year to have a better understanding of what's going on with their child in school.
Right. Yeah. And so just to summarize, Sarah and I, we live this every day, so we understand it, but fully. So, but it can be, so just for the first term, we're kind of going back to that fixed date in December, and most of the information is going to be actually on the report card. Whereas before it was kind of a more of a how would you describe it? Just a little thinner, because the information came out on actual student work.
Yeah, so all the descriptive feedback and the proficiency scale came with the evidence. So then when you got the report, there was a lot less information. So now we're putting that back on the report.
For first term.
Yeah, for first term and third term.
And for And then in second term, the focus is on this practice of sending home the student work, which, by the way, the reporting order does say the written the written learning update, the requirement for it, it doesn't say it has to be in a platform like MyEd. It can be in the form of sending student work with the information, and that fulfills the requirement for one of the formal written learning updates. I think we're ready for the next slide, unless there are more questions.
Did that answer your question? Good. Okay.
Is
Melissa.
this for K to 12 or K to 6?
This is K to 9. However, grades 7, 8, and 9 are making further modifications because we've said to the middle years teachers, if this doesn't work for you, because the middle years are different than elementary, then they are able to make further tweaks. So what's likely going to happen with the middle years, what our understanding, part of this is still under development because it's for next year, so we're still working on it. But for the middle years, likely in the second term, it's going to look more like the first term. It's going to have more of the information is going to be on the report card, and they will use less of that evidence of learning, just because the students are getting ready for high school and it's kind of transition time. So that's probably going to be something that will work better for the middle years. So what we're talking about is primarily K to 6 in Squamish, and then K to 7 in Whistler and Pemberton.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is kind of just a summary. Do you want?
Sure. So some of the general guidelines that will continue to use strength-based language when reporting through the evidence or on the written updates in formal and informal communication. And then there's always been 2 flexible formats. So that's face-to-face conferences, parent-teacher conferences, so a variety of different ways to do this through telephone calls, emails, so that will still be provided, and that will be determined depending on the term that they're doing that within the school. And then student reflection and goal setting of the core competencies is shared throughout the year, so that doesn't change. We still want them to be sharing that information throughout the year. And then an important piece too is that if there's any significant learning concerns, that parents and guardians are informed no matter when throughout the school year, not necessarily just on the written update, but they're having those conversations whenever something arises throughout the year. Anything to add there? Yeah.
Job. Oh, we got Melissa here.
Again, at the last second. When you're putting all this information together, are the teachers, I know you've got a lot of teachers, but how do you get their opinion on how this works best for them?
Yeah, so we have an assessment committee that meets, I don't know, 4 times a year or so. So part of their role is to go back to the schools, figure out what's going on at the school level, and then bring that information to share with the committee. And then once we have that information, we started to do this big brainstorm about how can we adjust this practice. But through they're getting the information from their schools and then sharing on behalf of them. And then they'll go back and also communicate and be that support in their school too on any changes that will be made.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that's about it. So
Okay.
Well, I want to say thanks again to Sarah for all her work, and to Katrina, who's not here.
well, thank you for us.
Yeah, I will do
On
that.
our behalf, and Sarah, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'm happy somebody caught it and I didn't make you wait until the end of the agenda. And again, you're welcome to stay. Okay, I understand.
Oh, yeah, Sarah. See you tomorrow.
Hey, are you ready now?
I don't know. Thank you.
We keep bumping you.
No.
Okay, superintendent's year-end review presentation.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll ask Archie to play the first slide so that I can have my notes in front of me on my own. Just a reminder to the board and to the public that in September of each year, I share out at first at the ministry level what the ministry priorities and focus is for the year ahead. And then I will be reporting out first on where they are in what they said they were planning on doing. And then that is aligned obviously with what we do, as well as aligned with our strategic plan and any other of the year ahead by department where we shared with you, here's our plan for the year. And so I will just take the time and opportunity and thank you for your patience. It is rather long, but I do think it's important for you and for the public to know what the district's been working on throughout the year. And we're speaking to the highlights, of course. So I'll try and go relatively quickly, and maybe I'll pause periodically for questions if that works best. And if it's something that's burning, please don't hesitate to get my attention or just interrupt, because I'm probably going to get on a bit of a roll. So to begin, if I could again point people to the screen, where again I'm just going to start with the ministry update, and if you can go to the first slide. So this was first presented at our summer leadership gathering. That is all 60 school districts, all superintendents, invited guests, and obviously all the ministry folks. And if you go to the next slide, what I'm going to share in brief are just their priorities for the year. So again, these were the same slides I shared with you in September. And I will speak to each of these areas, except for the workforce challenges we've talked about before. I'll briefly say that the ministry continues to try to clear the way to ensure that for teachers, for example, we recognize as an ongoing teacher recruitment challenge across the sector. The ministry's been working really hard with the teacher regulation branch, which is responsible for certifying teachers to work in BC, to speed up the process and cut some of the red tape for accredited teachers from other jurisdictions, so that we can get folks in classrooms quicker. I'm happy to share that what used to take 6 weeks is down to about 1 to 2 weeks now. So they have done some significant improvements there. They also continue to look to ways to provide more seats in teacher education programs at post-secondary. And I'm happy to report to the public, and we shared with the board earlier, but our HR department and principals who support in recruitment, we have quite a few in the double digits, new teachers who will be joining us next year, both as TOCs and potentially, when third round postings come around, potentially teachers in their first year getting full-time jobs in our classrooms. So we're very excited by that. Enrollment pressures, we've spoken a lot about that in many jurisdictions. As we said in our district, we're relatively stable, which is not to say we've not been relenting in our communications. And thank you to the board. For the public should know that the board has been advocating on your behalf and on your students' behalf to ensure that we're not forgotten. We may not have the same enrollment pressures, but we do have buildings in need of improvements, and especially our Howe Sound Secondary School, where we're awaiting seismic upgrades and hopefully a renovation to incorporate Sea to Sky alternate within the school, as it is part of that school community. Affordability challenges we'll speak to in other slides, as well as transition to kindergarten. So we can go on to the next slide. There we are. So we'll speak to our efforts to support the mental health of our students, but also of our staff. So that's the work we've been sharing around compassionate systems framework, which is really about supporting staff to be the best they can be when they show up for their students. And of course, you've had presentations by the mental health in schools before, and I know they'd be happy to come do another presentation in the new year sometime. They've also presented at DPAC to great response from that. We'll speak to Bill 40 a little bit later in terms of addressing of the equity issues. Lots of things to share about literacy and numeracy. And for secondary transitions, I think I'll leave it at we continue to, take any opportunity we can to explore opportunities to work with post-secondary institutions to provide dual credit options. We're thrilled with the news of Capilano University opening up on the former Quest property in Squamish. And we know there will be lots of opportunities for kids across the corridor to be engaged, be involved, and continue to build opportunities for dual credit, where students receive credit for first year college and university level courses in their grade 12 year. So we can go on to the next slide. Is the pace okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. So in terms of literacy supports, the ministry has promised, again, the $30 million over 3 years. There was a recognition that outside of or coming out of COVID and due to numerous other factors, there have been concerns about the literacy and numeracy foundational development for children, and recognizing that it isn't, of course, just a primary or elementary issue. It is a K-12 issue, because we continue to support the literacies and literacies across many curriculum and all grades, K-12. So the 3 components they promised were to investigate vetted and provincially approved, using the word screenings. They're more like mini assessments in order to identify students who, all students, to see where they are on a spectrum. Again, recognizing all kids come to school at various levels of development, but this helps to ensure where targeted supports, classroom supports, and general universal design supports are needed, that we're using the best pedagogy possible, and that we have support from the ministry to provide that education and additional professional learning opportunities for our teachers to engage in the work. So we can go on to the next slide. There we are. So this was the plan for year 1. Yes, they have done a survey of all districts, and all districts are reporting June 27th what our plan is moving forward. We were provided with a learning grant for K-12 literacy, and our folks have been hard at work designing a proposal to ensure that money is spent in the most effective way possible. So we'll be reporting that out to the ministry in June, and then when things are approved, obviously we'll share that out. It'll be on our website in an approved format, so that folks know what our plan is moving forward. The bullet about POP services, POP, and again, apologies for all the acronyms in education. POP stands for Provincial Outreach Program, and those are specialist teachers, school psychologists, behaviorists, seconded by the Ministry of Education from the field, from community partners, to provide a level of support, mostly to, well, anyone can apply for support, but the real target over the past couple of years and upcoming years will be for rural and remote communities who may not have access to the same level of both district-based and community-based expertise. So we often are very happy to work with the Provincial Outreach Program, PAPARD, the POP for the Provincial Outreach Program, and the ARD has to do with autism and related developmental something. I can't even remember now. I've been out of the learning service for a while. Might forgive me, but we are very grateful for the support of experts in these fields to help build the capacity of our educators in this area. So that is continuing. And then spring and summer, I think that's taken a little more time than perhaps the ministry was expecting. I do appreciate they have slashed summer 2025. So this work is ongoing, and we're looking forward to learning more about the workshops and webinars available. They are creating a suite, which is fantastic, of modules, on-demand modules, so that when we have opportunities to provide professional learning, not just to our teachers, but to support staff as well, there are some ready-made modules for consistent learning. So more to come on that. And as we move into year 2 and 3, next slide, please. This is their plan. So again, this hasn't happened yet. We're looking forward to the provincial resource repository. We know our teachers are hungry for resources. And again, while I want to thank all the staff in the district for the work they do to provide resources for teachers, as we beg, borrow, and steal from other districts, as we work with other districts for shared resources, we are really looking forward to a vetted and research informed repository of resources for teachers to use, for us to support teachers and the administrators that support them, to again ensure that we have access to fantastic resources. We're looking forward to some updates around supporting students with learning disabilities, ELL, and all kinds of other goodies. So more to report once we learn. This is happening for this in the start of next school year. So hopefully I'll have more details for you in the year ahead in September as the ministry updates me in August in terms of where they're at for literacy supports. Next slide, please. Okay, so I know that at least one trustee has been very curious about this when the new curriculum, not that new anymore, came out. While we were all thrilled that it was a competency-based, progressive, fantastic curriculum, providing access points for all learners, what was clear was some of the supports for teachers around what this actually looked like. How do you assess competencies in a meaningful way that's developmentally appropriate, that is developmental in scope and sequence, because again, these run through all stages of growth through various grades as kids go through the system. I'm happy to report that they have now published, and it's on the ministry website, and we will slowly but surely get that out to all of our principals and staff and work to support teachers in having time to digest and comment on and utilize these resources, where they are providing what they're calling learning progressions that describe what the competencies in literacy, in numeracy, and other core competencies look like. Because our teachers have done a beautiful job using their professional learning and judgment, and we have our own sort of descriptors of what it means to be proficient, what it means to, right? But they have further delved deeper and provided much more and clearer communication around this. So they have done lots of work on proficient, what it means to be proficient, what it means to be extending, what it means to be emerging. What I should say is they've supported that with much more clearer descriptors. Making sense?
Proficient in terms of the competency, or in terms of the competency in connection with literacy or numeracy?
Ask me again, sorry.
So okay, I'm looking for, and what I meant when I spoke to the minister was an assessment of the competencies, because currently, as far as I know, all we have is personal reflection on how you are becoming more a better critical thinker. So when you say these are coming out, which I don't see anything yet, I just see an open idea, which has been an idea since day one. Are you saying that these are coming, like the term proficiency, is that coming out in terms of numeracy and literacy? Like you are a critical thinker in literacy because you do this?
Yes.
So they've connected the competencies, or they're not assessing the competencies on their own.
Correct.
They're assessing the competencies in terms of the core curriculum.
Yes.
So I'm a critical thinker in math because I can do this.
Correct. So they're calling them, again, there's two things. There's the K-12 cross-curricular, I'm reading from the website, the learning progressions. So that demonstrates that continuum of proficiency from K-12, for example, how what a thinking or communication skill may look like in a proficient student. So
That's
that's,
still back in connection to the core competencies, not just in life in general. You know, like I'm a critical thinker, you can be a critical thinker and not attached to any of the core competency, I mean, the core curriculum.
Yep.
You can be a critical thinker in something completely different.
yes. So that's the notion of there's literacy and numeracy learning progressions. So again, what does it mean for students to understand, to critically analyze, to create a variety of communication forms, all written, visual, digital, in order to accomplish one's goals. And they have them from K to 5, 6 to 12. And again, they're both in progressions and in grade specific proficiency descriptors. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. What I will share is, again, that might be a suggestion for a board education session. So we can go through that and share that out just for your knowledge. It's under the Ministry of Education BC curriculum website now. They have under their title is Learning Pathways. And then from that, they go through the progressions. This is new. And so, you know, as we get more information to share out and provide those opportunities for teachers, we will do that. And again, if I'm not being clear, I'm just going to read the statement, which I think is a clear one. The K to 12 learning progressions, let's say in literacy and numeracy, describe proficient cross-curricular skills linked to core competencies of thinking, communication, and personal social skills found in all areas of learning. So it's not specific to content, right? It is, to your point, how I can apply these beyond just the curriculum, to your point, because it's a core competency, which isn't about curriculum. It's about how I know how to recognize a critical thinker,
Right.
regardless of what comes your way.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask one more question. So it seems like that so far it's only an idea, like I haven't seen like a spreadsheet, I haven't seen you know, like you start here as far as critical thinking and move along. I haven't seen a continuum.
Well, you may not have but I can
But
share
it's
with
there.
you. It's there. It's been, and there are teachers on the provincial table that sits with this, and we have been given some glimpses, and it is a continuum.
But
Yes.
it's not ready yet.
No. It should be. It should be. It's dribs and drabs. And I think, again, I want to recognize what April is saying. And we recognize that while we are absolutely in support of a competency-based curriculum, respectfully to any industry people watching, it was a little bit of cart before the horse, where you sort of want to have the nitty-gritty in place, so teachers have something to grab onto. So I think there is that recognition from the ministry. I think they recognize they could have rolled this out a little bit smoother. So we're playing catch up now.
But I'll just emphasize again, like, but my worry was when I saw those kinds of continuums come out in literacy, and I'm betting there's one in numeracy too, ahead of them coming out into competency, because that is what teachers will value, that is what the public will value, that is what everybody will value in it. That very move with something that's still in draft is going to move people back, in my estimation. That's what I'm concerned about, but that's what I tried to say to the minister.
If you we'll work on this one, then I'll move on. If you go to the website, what you'll find is they have sort of an overview, and they have some things that are still blanked out, because clearly they're still working on what is that progression across grades as they go further. But it's not to state, if you're in grade 5, you should be here. It's a recognition that if you're in grade 5, you're going to be all on the continuum, because it's recognizing that students learn in different ways and at different rates. And this is the new this is the messaging that continues to be a little bit of a challenge for those of us in the older system, where we're used to a grade, and in grade 5, all kids should be here. And we know that isn't the case. That's not helpful for students, for goal setting, for reflection, because you want kids to feel, yes, I'm becoming numerate, I'm becoming literate, and I know that these are my strengths. I also know this is what I need to work on, without feeling like I didn't meet the threshold in grade 5 across the board, so I'm gonna give up. And that's the last thing we want to see. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit. The next slide just says that part is completed in terms of phase 1. So again, here, phase 2, which is been happening right now, but it is, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's complete. It's still in progress, which was the stamp you'll see in a second. And this, maybe I should have gone to there after you asked your question, because I think this lays out what the plan is there around that sequence for skill development, aligning with the proficiencies. Again, lots of supports, lots of, they're calling them learning stories, lots of examples. So again, teachers feel they have a toolkit to build on and to move forward with. And I want to just again express my thank you to the teachers who have been doing their best with the new curriculum in absence of some of these supports. So hence, again, even our adjustment to communicating student learning. Okay, next slide that has my beautiful in progress piece. You can move on to the next slide. Okay, so we did have a gift that actually worked. We had an earlier, you probably speak to it, sorry, an earlier presentation in finance from Indigenous Education Council. So just a reminder for the public that as per Bill 40, boards of education will be, and today, provided information as to how Indigenous Education Councils are spending targeted funds. And it's not just about targeted funds, it's also ensuring that they're partners at the table for all things and consultation for all things that pertain to students of Indigenous ancestry and their both academic and well-being in schools. And we look forward to hearing from and doing our best to live up to what the Indigenous Education Councils ask of us. So we can go to the next slide, which is just a brief overview of what came out in August. And again, thank you to this board. We have gone through all of these steps to get a clear understanding of what IECs are for, what the board's role is in supporting IECs. And my little highlight is that originally they had hoped all IECs would be set up, ready to go in the fall. And as Rebecca and I can attest and report it out on, right, at BCSTA, like you said earlier, it wasn't without its share of challenges across the province. And so they did extend the formation of the IEC by the end of June 2025, and we've met that deadline. So that feels great, and we thank the folks involved in that. Next slide. Almost done the ministry part. So again, in the news lately, it seems all the time now, we're hearing more and more about cybersecurity, about identity theft, about the need to really be mindful of and keep us responsible and accountable for the personal data of all of our staff, students, and families. Next slide, please. The Ministry of Education committed to working with numerous partner groups in the field to develop a strategic, intentional, and most importantly, cost-effective approach to supporting districts in efforts to guard against cybersecurity and attacks. We know, unfortunately, of a few districts that have been compromised. I won't mention any locally, but I will mention in the news was the Toronto School Board, one of the largest ones in Canada, that was attacked and held for ransom. So really pleased with the progress that the ministry, along obviously with Focused Ed and their partners, have done. And we recently signed on with 50 plus other districts with Palo Alto. I think I spelled Palo Alto wrong. If I look at it again, maybe the first it was wrong. Anyway, these folks are providing retainer to all districts to support us through. Heaven forbid we should have if we have an attack. And by sharing the cost and sharing the load, and thank you to the ministry for sharing the funding as well, It is a reasonable fee that we pay. And just to assure the public that we are actually ahead of the game when it comes to protecting our systems. And we again appreciate our staff's patience, because if you're offline, offsite, and you're logging in to do some work, you have to go through quite a few steps, like two-step authentication, and message gets sent to your phone to identify that it's you. And we've done a number of professional learning sessions with all staff, and we do that for all new staff as well, around security of their personal information, of student information, of devices. And so we know this doesn't mean we're out of the woods. It just means we're doing our best to keep up with the evolving nature, unfortunately, of cyber attack. Next slide. Okay, and again, it continues to be a work in progress, but I'm pleased with where we're at. And now that takes us to our year ahead. So given all that, the landscape, given our strategic plan, which I'll remind folks, next slide, please, that we were originally on a 6-year cycle, and due to some need for more time, thank you again to the board for that extension to next year. Next slide, please. She said that before. There we go. My thing is in progress. So for the Board of Education, I again want to acknowledge and thank the board for all their work this year in a number of areas. The board did complete their mission, vision, and guiding principles. We know we're continuing next year. We're really excited to be working with Kevin Godden, a retired superintendent and strategy consultant, who will facilitate the next year as we engage in our strategic plan. The senior team and myself have a meeting with Kevin on the 30th. We have a draft work plan to talk about and hone, and we're excited to share in the new year what are the steps moving forward. So board, please be ready for engagement and invitations to of course govern and oversee the development, but also to take part in its development. We're really excited by that. Reminder that the Framework for Enhancing Student Learning is a report in now, I believe I think we're in its third or fourth year of implementation from the ministry to ensure that boards of education are reporting out on key indicators of student success and well-being. This continues to be an iterative requirement, and the ministry has moved to a 3-year reporting schedule from a 1-year reporting schedule in order to provide boards the time, if there is some real, obviously work to be done, to provide the time for reporting out on the strategies used to address whatever the issues are. However, we will still be reporting in September out to you a truncated version of the vessel. It is a much smaller report, and stay tuned for that in October. We talked about your support of the Indigenous Education Council already. Thank you to all those who took part in many meetings, both in person, online, etc., with various partner groups to understand the importance of IECs. And again, this board has already had very good relationships with rights holders and had a functioning Indigenous Education Council for years. And again, thank you for your continued advocacy for public education. Again, important for the public to know that the board's work extends far beyond just this table. So just a thank you to the board for all their work moving forward. Next slide. And there we go. The board also completed some pretty heavy lifting with some foundational policies in our district. And in fact, you approved 3 new policies this year: anti-racism, accessibility, and environmental sustainability, as well as reviewing 6 100 series level policies, amended the district code of conduct as per new legislation about digital devices, attended fall and spring learning plan presentations, schools. We provided a few education sessions. We have one more, as you know, coming up next week on Truth and Reconciliation, on the book study. And we have no new updates for the public on the ongoing discussion with District of Squamish about potential for shared facilities. We know that's kind of stalled at the moment. So before I go on to other departments, any questions, comments about the slide deck thus far? Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water. And off we go. And I'll do my best not to read everything on the slide. But again, this was the work we committed to setting out and accomplishing next year. So for by department, next slide, please. There we are. For the district education service plan. So the overall plan. Obviously, we spoke about a number of these items before. I do want to report out on the student engagement and student voice. That while we haven't had the level of engagement and voice we'd like to see at the board table, I can assure you that our schools have been doing some amazing work with students to help inform how school feels, what school looks like, what are the needs students have, and we're not just talking about high school kids. I will reference Valley Cliff Elementary, where I know they have their own student leadership forum where the principal and lead teachers sit down with the kids. And I think some of you had the opportunity to view a demonstration in a fishbowl activity where some prompts were provided and kids gave their honest and unfiltered responses. And we believe that we need to listen more to our students. We've done a lot of work with the Book Street data this year from Shane Saphir, really centering voices and especially student voices from the margins. So that will continue. The reporting order we spoke about and had a presentation just before I spoke for professional learning that was offered. Lots and lots of activities and opportunities. We know the importance of adaptive expertise in our district. We absolutely believe in professionalism of our teachers to show up for what they're interested in, what they know they would like to learn more about. And we will continue to ensure there's meaningful opportunity for learning. Program reviews this year, we weren't able to accomplish, maybe we bit off a little bit more than we could chew this year with all the other initiatives that came forward. We did complete international education. Thank you very much. See, the Sky Online is in progress and will go into next year. And then we, in consultation with the Squamish Nation, agreed that they would appreciate the time and focus for a co-construction of the review for cultural journeys and learning expeditions. Next slide, please. All right, for equity, diversity, and inclusion, we follow through on all the items up there that we promised. Again, this doesn't mean the work is done. This is just the beginning. We did recently receive our report from Bacau Consulting around anti-racism. However, it came very recently and not enough time to share with senior staff, to respond, to have a report out for the board. So I apologize for that. We'll make sure that's something we address early on. We feel that is will be one of those cornerstone pieces of data to help us in our strategic plan moving forward when we talk about well-being for all, student safety and belonging. So obviously you won't hear, that's not the last of that. We will just defer that until the next year. New. Next slide, please. So continuing with equity, diversity, inclusion. What I want to share is we've expanded membership in our accessibility plan. We have a teacher now. We're still looking for a QP rep. We have asked Deepak to take on the responsibility of providing us with parent reps for the accessibility. And of course, we do want to investigate how we can equitably ensure their student voice at the table as well. So we will move forward with that. We talked about policies earlier. Again, they do make sense in multiple slides. And then Feeding Futures. Again, I just want to share. I know that we had a presentation earlier from Maren Crookery, thank you, Cochran, who is our Feeding Futures coordinator. And again, we're doing lots. She's doing lots of great work. I can't recall at the time when I made this slide, we hadn't confirmed. No, I don't have Squamish Can in there. I should for the south, so I'll make that change to the slide deck. We're looking forward to having a partner where we can really capitalize on efficiency, cost savings, and the provision of nutritious, meaningful food for all kids. We'll continue to ensure that Feeding Future remains barrier and stigma free. And so I just encourage trustees, if you're in schools, take a second to pop by the community fridge, or if there's a food available, take an apple, take a muffin, even if you're not hungry, just to demonstrate to kids that this is for everyone, and there are no barriers. There should be no stigma to food safety and acquisition. Next slide. Okay, in the technology file, we spoke about cybersecurity already. Ongoing support continues. There was no new information, which is why nothing is bolded or ticked off. We continue to utilize technology and are just fascinated by what's out there more and more for kids to support a universal design approach to technology. AI, of course, continues to be a really interesting area. We are in full support of AI used in a responsible and educationally sound way. So there's been a number of opportunities for teachers, for school leadership to learn more about AI. I'm sure there's more coming. In terms of the provision of technology, we did have a few schools like Don Ross and House Sound looking to how they can provide one-to-one Chromebooks, but with responsibility and accountability. So we'll hear more about that later in the budget, where we're looking to provide students with robust, usable Chromebooks, for example, in grade 8, and they will have that device for the full 5 years with full support should they get broken or lost. And we feel that it's an opportunity for students to develop responsibility and at the same time ensure that we're not behind the 8 ball when it comes to replacing devices if kids don't feel that sense of responsibility and accountability. So schools are working on their programming around that. In MyEd, we recall the last presentation about some of the challenges with MyEd. So we recognize we have lots of new staff at our schools in clerical, PVPs, etc., counselors. So we wanted to ensure that there is a foundational knowledge around the use of IED for students, for parents, to make sure we have a consistent, seamless, and accurate use of MyEd for all things related to student learning, attendance, etc. Next slide. For the business and financial section, again, you will see the top bullet has been here for 3 years now. No news around the funding model. I think in a time of fiscal strain on our province, they haven't quite decided what they're going to do. Some things are coming out in dribs and drabs. We do have a new inclusive education manual, which is fantastic. However, it is still based on the old medical model. So we're waiting to see what changes might happen sooner or later with funding. So again, we'll report out when we learn more. Thank you to the finance team for the cross training. We recognize, especially in a time when there are some nasty bugs going around, if we have folks that go down in a small department, you want to ensure there's folks that are able to pick up the slack, and we thank them for that. We continue to refine how we do finance in our district, and I again want to thank the leadership of Danielle, who is always looking for ways to provide clarity and transparency in our finances and in how we develop our financial processes and plans moving forward. This is simply a list of the reporting that was required. You'll note we've got one more report to come in June 30th, so I probably should have ticked it off. I'm going to blame the app for that. And a couple more things to come. I know the statements have been done. The financial plan was done earlier, so I took the liberty of ticking that off. Next slide, please. We're more than halfway through, folks, promise. In operations, again, just a reminder to the public, to the board, that this was our plan. We had submitted for Housetown Secondary seismic upgrade, the new spaces application, and you'll note we did not get the seismic upgrade. It is not ticked. We did get the Signal Hill Elementary new spaces grant, however, which I know Phil reported out on earlier in the year. We did massive upgrades for HVAC for Pemberton, which I know during the increasingly hot weather due to climate change, that staff is very thankful for, as is all schools that received window and roofing upgrades, which were all about, well, obviously roofing is one thing, but the windows for increased efficiencies for both cooling and heating. And we continue to support the other areas indicated on the screen. I will just point out again, really thankful to our principals for following our emergency response flip charts. We know we have a little more work to do around seismic events, but we know those flip charts will come in handy. Those are now in all schools at all sites. And we also just wanted to remind the public of all the renovation projects that the AFG, the Annual Facilities Grant, and Minor Capital Fund addressed. These are just highlights. There was much more, but we thought that highlighting the painting, window replacement, main floor washroom upgrade at Don Ross, finally an accessible building at the SBO. We had the previous entrance here, which didn't help folks who needed to get upstairs. We didn't have a workable lift or anything, so we were actually in contravention, right, of accessibility requirements. So thankful that we have a beautiful new set of stairs, ramp, and some lovely plantings to make the entrance more welcoming. Next slide. Learning services, always lots of work in learning services. Big shout out to all those involved, the counselors, administrators, and Phil Clark, our Director of Learning Services, for work on the Mental Health in Schools strategy, the Mental Health in Schools Committee, recognizing that mental health of schools is one of the core pillars of overall well-being for staff and students. This Mental Health in Schools main focus is students. So there's been lots of work in promoting mental health in many ways. There's been circle training, restorative justice training, structures for tracking belonging and connection across the district. So we have a metric we can report out on as we get more data beyond the other surveys that we do provide. There has been professional learning opportunities for physical health education teachers around substance use, student voice and parent presentations around vaping, and more to come obviously on that. Again, doesn't mean the work is done. I think it's just an indication that these are very compelling challenges and topics that need continual focus and work. And we're grateful for our work with Vancouver Coastal Health. We recently attended a roundtable with representatives from Vancouver Coastal Health, from everything from substance abuse and vaping to mental health to body image to communicable disease. And we have reestablished that table and we'll be meeting twice a year. And so we'll be happy to report out to the board what was discussed and what some shared priorities are. I will share that as part of a regional meetings from the school districts with Vancouver Coastal Health. Vancouver Coastal Health has developed a number of resources easily navigable by parents that we will be incorporating into our website, and again doing some communication blitz in September, October around those resources. While I'm grateful for our website, which has a number of resources on it, I will say that Vancouver Coastal did a lovely job of sort of one-stop shop in a lot of these core areas. If we had more time, I would like to share some of those out, but I think we'll save that for a meeting next year and perhaps invite Vancouver Coastal to come out and do a presentation, and perhaps at DPAC as well. It's really, really good work. There are four main areas that they're focusing on. The first one, we asked for priority one, mental health. They will also be supporting us in other areas, but it's the mental health was agreed upon by all districts. The Vancouver Coastal Health supports that if they could help with a toolkit for that, we'd be grateful, and they've done so. So looking forward to providing that later. Again, ongoing support from the inclusive support team to support our learners, but also build capacity for best practices inclusion. The student-led IEP continues to gain fantastic ground when we again center student voice, and kids, depending on their developmental age, are able to share with us, right, what their needs are, what they need to be successful. That's super powerful in a room, instead of just a resource teacher or learning support teacher saying, here's what the IEP says. When you hear from the kids, that's where it's at.
Just a quick question on that, Chris. Are you restricting the ages of the kids
Nope.
who can participate, or is it any children from any grade?
All students are welcome to participate, and supports are in place for kids who may need support with articulation and all kinds of different ways where kids are being included, depending on, again, their ability to participate. But it's for everyone. There are kindergartens who know exactly what they need. It is true. Okay, I will leave the rest up there, and we can just maybe go on to the next slide. I read them all, even though I feel like I'm doing that. For early learning childcare, so I know we spoke at this at length. We're super grateful for all the work that's been done. We're grateful to the ministry for the funding. However, we are in the third year of a 4-year funding for the initiative, and you can clearly see, again, all the great work done with the funding, which included the hiring of a district vice principal, Heather Andrusoff, in the role. I can share with you that her work, so many things, but I will say the Welcome to Kindergarten revisioning, the work's that's done to welcome all students, to provide meaningful opportunities for building community, for providing families with fantastic educational kits and toys, to welcome them in, is fantastic. I am still just so excited by the statement on our Welcome to Kindergarten merch and webpage. You belong here, and I will put that out to the board. That wouldn't that be a fantastic, along those lines of the new tagline for the district? You belong here. In how many ways you can focus on you and who that means: identity, belonging, what we wish for everyone, and hear about the uniqueness and the beauty of the Sea to Sky corridor. So I'll save that for later. The ELP, which stands for Early Learning Essential Skills Profile, as was discussed in the earlier presentation around communicating student learning, the team continues to make tweaks to the profile to again ensure that it is providing us with meaningful information for teachers to help them with work going forward so they can understand the needs of all their learners, while at the same time ensuring that it's not overly onerous, but a usable living document that forms the foundation of tracking and reporting out on development and understanding your learners as they go through our system from the get-go. We continue to work with West Van and the Sunshine Coast around changing possibilities for young children, which I think is changing its name in the near future. Childcare we spoke to. Pleased to have opened again. I mentioned the before and after school care at Sibley Hill. Seamless Day continues at Brockendale, and we did get a grant to support a full childcare needs assessment for the whole Squamish area. And stay tuned for more. We're hoping for consistent and ongoing funding for early learning and childcare, but we will have to wait and see and then respond accordingly. We continue with a dual credit for early learning, early child education with the Sunshine Coast School District and Northern Lights Cottage. And finally, there was a fantastic health fair up in Pemberton because our folks sit on the Sea to Sky Collaborative for kids early years, David. Keep going. Almost done. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. For Indigenous education, again, I think I spoke about this earlier. I mentioned our terms of reference is complete. Myself and Secretary Treasurer Danielle Haberstock, along with the Director of Instruction for Indigenous Education, Colleen Hanna, has attended a number of meetings with LEWAT around their local education agreement. And we reviewed the terms of reference to ensure we were living up to our responsibilities to the LEA. I'm grateful for their ongoing consultation and support, the work we're doing our best to achieve. The Squamish Nation Protocol Agreement was reviewed and updated. The Squamish Nation is still satisfied with the protocol agreement and aren't pursuing an LEA at this time. However, they can at any time, and of course, we're happy to support that as per the legislation. Thank you to the board for out of operating, ensuring an additional Indigenous Success Advisor. That was very well received and helped many students, as well as teachers to support their students better. You supported the Indigenous Leader Advocate, Leah Dan, as part of the targeted funding up in the north. And by support too, I will also again thank the team for supporting that individual, working with the nation around even the job description to ensure that it was super clear that advocate is for all students of Indigenous ancestry, even though it is out of LEWAT, it is for all students of Indigenous ancestry. So that is fantastic. For elders and residents, I think Colleen mentioned it earlier. We still have some work to do. We do have some elders that we're again ensuring that they have honorariums and open door to connect them with our schools, but we know we can do more to ensure that all schools have the honor of being with and learning from these amazing individuals that have such wonderful knowledge and presence to share. Next slide. Is it almost HR? Can't remember. International education. Yeah. So again, an ambitious plan last year. You'll note that for a number of our intentions, due to the difficulty in having more homestays for students, we weren't able to increase the number of homestays. And so that has an impact on the other bullets about increasing the diversity of where folks are from, and the number of students that stay for more than 1 year. I know the International Education Department is still committed to doing that, but we do want to acknowledge the pressures if they're unable to secure those homestays. And this is in no way to criticize any community members, because we recognize that for many families, even the stipend that we provide may not cover all costs. And so we're just very grateful for those families that are able to support our international students. In terms of the opportunities part, we know that with the ongoing issues with international travel, especially to the States, that put a damper on some of the trips that were planned. The Global International Skills Program curriculum, Faisal informs me that the Ministry of Education and their governance of this is actually going in a different direction. So we're interested to see what comes next. Perhaps something is replacing the GISP curriculum. And again, due to just not having the students to support opportunities for more teacher mobility and grant applications, that's also due to the current political climate. This is for international exchange for our teachers, right? To have opportunities for folks from other jurisdictions to come and teach here, and then their counterpart would go from, say, Pemberton to Australia or to Japan or somewhere else. So no, it's something that's been an opportunity, but I don't believe we've been able to, at least since I've been here, exercise that. But it's something I know that Faisal was interested in promoting, and I think fantastic. What wonderful opportunities for our teachers. But the current political climate has made that difficult for lots of reasons. Next slide. Yes. Home stretch. Human resources. Again, despite ongoing challenges with recruitment and retention, we have attended a number of hybrid in-person and virtual recruitments and career fairs. Again, I reported out earlier that we are very excited that we were able to secure quite a double-digit number of new teachers to our district. We're very keen to come here and teach. They're very much in line and have affinity with our current strategic plan, and of course the beautiful land where our schools are located. Our diversity hiring initiative continues, of course. I had the pleasure of attending a real quick story, a UBC fair, and just being able to represent, for example, just personally, the LGBT community. I know was valued, and we have a number of folks coming to us who chose us because of that, both allies and folks who self-identify. So that is fantastic. That's my heart proud. Bargaining, of course, that continues for CUPE. We haven't been provided the dates yet. They do their bargaining a little bit different than the teachers. Of course, at the local table, we completed many months ago, and we're just awaiting more information coming forward at the provincial level for the BCTF. Performance management made a commitment, and again, kudos to CUPE for asking for this, for wanting some kind of opportunity for feedback for performance reviews. It's not in their contract as it is for the collective agreement with teachers and exam staff. But that's begun. That was co-constructed with CUPE, and some of our schools have implemented that, and really great responses from CUPE staff that had opportunity for a performance review and a growth plan. So opportunity to share in and celebrate all the great work being done, and at the same time providing opportunities for growth. Happy about that. The Wellness Committee, just in brief, because I know that the board's asked Dave for a more fulsome overview next year. Again, we I've committed to completing and acting on the wellness survey that was done through Guardian Minds. That's complete. For Well at Work, we did establish a framework and a roadmap moving forward. And the big key takeaway I will say is that we really want to ensure that it's not a top-down approach, but it's a bottom-up. So being really mindful and open to hearing from staff in terms of what they need, what we can do better, and at the same time recognizing our collective responsibility again through compassionate systems leadership for showing up in a good way. So those supports for staff continue. We know we can do a better job at ensuring all staff are aware of what supports are out there, right? Beyond our policies around harassment or respectful workplace, but what about all those other pieces that we actually do provide for staff in terms of access to outside supports, counselors, etc. And sometimes some of the easiest pieces, that the low-hanging fruit is around clarity around processes, because if people don't understand the process, that can provide some anxiety. And so one of the things moving forward was real clarity around post and fill process for staff. And so HR did a wonderful presentation, a package for first to principals so they could share with their staff, working with the union on the website. Is it clear, right, in terms of what are the stages of attaining a job? What does it mean, term versus continuing? What's round one? What are the timelines? All those pieces. So the more we can be transparent and clear, the better moving forward. Next slide. Last slide, folks. Under communications and media, big thank you to Jen, who sort of lead on this, and thank you to Celeste for being part of the public relations, and Cynthia and Rachel, right? Rachel. Thank you. My apologies. I know we don't meet that often, but I feel that when we do meet, it's for good reason. We don't meet for the sake of meeting, but when we have something we want to share or need opportunity for dialogue, conversation about how best to continue to engage the district learning community. Can you go back to communication? So I think it's flip back. There we go. So again, we've had great success with our app, our Connecting SD48 platform. We feel it went really well through the annual budget development process, our policy review, and public feedback. So we're looking forward to really putting this platform to the test during our online consultation phase of and communicating out what we're doing around our strategic plan. And I think I'm not going to read the rest of the slides, but just to say we'll continue to do our best to provide timely, up-to-date, and clear communication, and always happy to receive feedback from all of you and from the public. If things aren't clear, please let us know. Communications exists to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
Sorry, I need to know if this too. This isn't my presentation. I'm the voice of all the work that's been done. So I know the board knows this, but again, I just do want to thank the entire staff, all the leads of all these portfolios for the hard work this year, and that continued number one focus on student learning and well-being. So I'm the mouthpiece, but this is the work of the entire team.
That's great. Any further questions? Comments? Okay. Then we can move on. Well, thanks again, Chris. That was great. Committee of the Whole. So the Committee of the Whole met earlier today. And primarily just to be reviewed our upcoming calendar and our school learning plans for next year. And reported out on a couple of our meeting with the Minister of Education and Childcare, of which everything has been recorded and will be available online. So with that, there is a recommendation.
That the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on May 14th, 2025 be accepted.
Thank you, Melissa. Second by Cynthia. Any objections? Okay, hearing none. Policy Committee. You want to take that?
Sure. Yep. The policy committee met very briefly this morning. We had a really great presentation overview on how things are going around the cell phone policy that was implemented during this year. And I'm really pleased to say that some of the feedback that we received from the elementary schools is that it's going really, really well. And in the middle schools and the high schools, still a little bit of work to do, but that things have definitely improved in the classrooms. And there's sort of a feeling that as the elementary school students who are becoming more and more accustomed to not having their phones with them during school hours move into those higher grades, we'll see hopefully less and less, like habituated behavior to having phones during school hours because they've habituated not to have phones during school hours. So that was really great to hear that. And then we were updated that in the fall, we'll be looking forward to doing some review work of the 700 series. And that is policy committee.
And it looks like there's a recommendation there.
Sure, I can make that the minutes of the policy committee meeting held on April the 9th, 2025 be adopted.
You second for that. Thank you, Melissa. Objections? Seeing none, then we can move on. It's carried, and we can move on to the finance committee. So again, this is a public meeting. It was recorded and will be available online. Just a couple of points that we covered off on would be the presentation of the Indigenous Education council budgets for the North, for the South, and for the council itself. We went over our financial statement and audit plan and had a presentation of the 3-year financial plan. We looked at long range facilities plan. So it's the year for all it's the month for all the plans. Oh, he spoke to it. You're right. So the plan is not available yet, and we will see the plan next week. He did report that up to us. Yeah. Again, and then we had a look at our annual budget summary and a bylaw. So with that, there is a recommendation.
That the minutes of the finance committee meeting held on May 14th, 2025 be adopted.
Thank you, Cynthia. Second for that. Thank you, April. Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, that's carried. The public relations, did you meet today? No? Okay, so we'll move on. For a general section, there is no business arising. Information items. So the Indigenous Education Council, I see my name is there. We've been reported out quite a lot today on the Indigenous Education Council, as Chris mentioned in his report. We have finally had the terms of reference got signed, and I guess just a point of interest, like to know that we have had an Indigenous Education Council for probably 10, 15 years, something like that. And there are districts in the province that do not have them. So they're starting right from scratch, and as they're developing it. And there's a little bit of opposition at times that I hear when we did the board chairs meeting in the winter and such. It was a bit of a surprise for me coming from this district that, I think it becomes more evident how progressive we have been. So in the past, the budgets were recommended by the council and the board was to adopt them, but with the implementation of Bill 40, they are developed by the Indigenous Education Council and they are shared with us. We no longer are in the position to be adopting. So that's an interesting piece. And I think that's about all I have for Indigenous Education Council. If there aren't any questions, we'll move on to enrollment update. Let's see, Paul.
Okay. So this will be quick. Basically what I wanted to do was just talk about, remind the board about our projections for September, which you all know are always conservative. And I want to compare those projections with where we're at right now, just kind of as a little dipstick in terms of enrollment for September, just to see what we're doing. So you can go ahead to the first slide, Archie, please. So, oh, that's not the first slide. So our projection was about 5,148 students. And by the way, this doesn't include online. This is just all of our bricks and mortar schools. And so right now we're at approximately 5,200. And so this 5,200 number, it's constantly changing. It's just, this was as of, I think, probably Friday of last week. So if you can go to the next slide. So really what this means is when we compare against our projections for total FTE, we are about 54 students up from our projections. So we're on the right side of that. We'd rather be up than down, so that's positive. But the interesting one here, if we go to the next slide, you can see that we're actually up quite a bit in kindergarten, which is nice to see, because in the last couple of years, I think we might have been down at this point in time, but we're significantly up in kindergarten, which kind of bodes well. So that's really good news. The other interesting one, though, is that we're down in French immersion. While we're up in kindergarten for French immersion, we're down overall. So we have increased the number of students who are making that decision that the program's not necessarily working for them, so they're leaving the program. And so that's good information for us. And then just finally, the last slide, Archie, please. Currently we have approximately 32 students on wait lists for cross boundary. We never usually release or move students off that list until late August, early September, when we have a better sense of how much space we have in our schools. So that's probably a similar number to where we were last year at this time. Early immersion, we have a total number of students of approximately 17 students still on wait lists. So that's Garibaldi, Highlands, and Squamish Elementary. I think Squamish Elementary is down to about 5 students, and the Highlands around 12. So that's also moving in the right direction. This was a much higher number even just a couple of weeks ago. So we've been making some good progress there. Late immersion.
Sorry, just one question.
Yeah.
With the early French immersion, do those students have an opportunity to go to a different school if they wanted to get into?
No.
No?
No. So
Just your catchment
these are
only?
Yeah. So just the 2 schools that we offer French immersion in Squamish.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
Right. And those are the number of students who are still waiting to get in. In past years, we've always cleared the list. This list is slightly higher than usual, so we're keeping a close eye on it, but we're hopeful that it will continue to fall.
Okay.
Late French immersion. Most of those students are from Signal Hill, and as the board knows, we weren't able to run a second class next year because we just didn't have the numbers. We have about 15 students on the wait list in going into grade 5. So those students will have an opportunity to go into French immersion in grade 6, which is still consistent with the rest of the province. We've had that discussion already at the board table. And Spring Creek, I think they have about 4 students on their wait list, and I think some of those are new within the last month. So that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Paul? No, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
We did the communicating student learning. I believe there's some attachments there for you. I'm not sure there's any correspondence. So the next, we have action items, amended Brackendale Elementary fee schedule.
Yeah. So both of these items are very similar from Brackendale Elementary. So with the fee schedule, this was just a miss. This wasn't provided to us when we brought it to the board earlier, so it's being brought now. They need to increase their fees for the school supply package. So what this is it's an optional package that parents can buy into instead of going to the store to buy their school supplies. They can buy it from the school, but they need to increase the fee because just to cover the increased costs of the items. So again, it's an optional fee for parents. It's not mandatory. And that will require a motion.
Okay, you are prepared to make that recommendation?
Yeah, it looks like the fee is in line with the averages of the other schools, so I could make that recommendation that the Board of Education approves the updated elementary fee schedule as presented.
Thank you. Cynthia has a second for that. Thank you, Melissa. Any objections? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, that's carried. And then this one is for the amended Brackendale Elementary School calendar.
Right. So similarly, Brackendale Elementary noted that they, in their calendar, they are starting the school day at a different time than what's published in our approved calendar. So that requires a board motion. And so that's why that item is here. So we just need to make that change for them so that they can
What is the change
have it official.
from 8 to 8:45? What from what?
I think the change is that their start time is 8:45,
Yeah.
and in the published calendar, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it might have been something like 8:55. It's that kind of a change. It's about a 10-minute difference. So we just need to make sure that the approved calendar is accurate, because right now the approved calendar is not accurate.
And then it'll be posted.
And then it will be posted and communicated.
And with that change, they still have the right number of minutes per day and it all adds up to be
That's right.
correct. Okay. I figured as much.
I overheard them trying to.
Yeah.
Brackendale?
Yeah.
So it was, and again, it's actually much, it should be relatively painless. It was an 8:49 start time to 8:45.
Okay, so not even 10 minutes.
There we go. So should be seamless.
Thanks for checking.
Who doesn't like a 5 or a 0 better than a 9?
Yeah, please.
So this is actually something that's been very good to this filling out the hours of inspection. Is 8:45 like the earliest that we would ever do for an hour? Like at what point did we say we're not doing this anymore? We are just going to, would 8:30 be acceptable? 8:30 8:49, it feels like it's just 15 minutes more than that's 15 minutes earlier. So I'm just curious, this is a point of.
Well, I think Blackwater Creek's 8:30
Till 3.
till 3:30.
Yeah, so this is 8:45 to 3. And that's what I'm saying is like you can compress the number of days that the kids are in school. We don't always have to make the day longer. Like at what point is it no longer acceptable?
Right. So you're saying, like,
Yeah, it's a tricky question. I mean, I think what we expect of the school is that they consult with their families. It may be that they need the extra minutes. I'm just speculating. I'm not actually sure because this just literally came to me yesterday or the day before. It's a late edition. Sometimes the school would like to have an extra early dismissal day, or they have a collaboration day. I'm not sure what the story is for Brackendale. Achieve that, we need to add the extra. And so some schools have, seems like a long day, but we get out. The additional half day or whatever it is, and that's been discussed as a school community. I think Myrtle Phillip actually starts their day closer to 8:30, but then they would dismiss probably closer to 2:30, to your point. So,
which is what I think Blackwater does.
yeah.
The average is around 86%. I just did 86% of schools start at 8:30 or later, with the bulk between 8:30 and 8:45. So there is some, traditional like sort of guidelines or best practices based on
And ending when?
what we've done. Again, so if you're an 8:30 start, then you're liable to end a little bit earlier, unless with the consultation of the school community, like, no, we want a longer recess or a longer lunch. So the end time can absolutely vary. For districts such as ours that also relies on a transportation system that has to coordinate, that can have an impact as well on what makes sense. So sometimes our transportation system will be a factor in determining what the bookends could be. And I think as a staff, and to your point, Celeste, as a board, anything before 8:30, I think would require some conversation, because we want to ensure that kids are getting the sleep that they need, families are able to get out the door, and of course we provide that before school service as necessary. But again, there is a recognition around sort of multiple time for learning, depending on aging development.
And for Brackendale, I know they've had some busing timeline issues as well. So sometimes their start time, they're trying to align with
Maybe the middle school.
buses, and Don Ross, I think they start at 8:30.
The middle school is earlier as well, but also ends earlier at least one of the days of the week. So just to point it out, there's creep in the time, and every day that is non-instructional also has an impact on families as well. So I just want to watch the creep of suddenly we're starting at 8, ending at 4. A whole lot of days off.
And we're super excited that next year is a calendar year.
Yes, let's fight about it.
Okay. We're so excited.
Melissa has her hand up.
No, it's not relevant. It's okay.
Want to make a motion?
The Board of Education approved the updated school calendar for Brackendale Elementary as presented.
Thank you. And thank you, April, for seconding. Are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, then that's carried. So that brings us to the 2026-2027 major capital submission. Now, this was presented to us earlier today. And we are just looking for a recommendation.
That the Board of Education approves the 2026-2027 major capital plan as presented.
Thank you, Melissa. A second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. Any objections? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, that's accepted. No items to be brought out of camera. Bylaws, the 2025-2026 annual budget and bylaw, which was presented to us earlier. Danielle, did you want to say anything in addition?
No, just very minor changes from the first reading.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, there is a recommendation.
That the Board of Education unanimously agree to waive the requirement that first, second, and third reading of School District Number 48 Sea to Sky Annual Budget Bylaw for fiscal year 2025-2026 be given on different dates.
Thank you. Second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. Any objections? Okay, seeing and hearing none, and then there is the budget bylaw. Somebody needs to read it.
No, I don't want to do it.
All right. No,
I'll
okay.
bring the microwave. No, for the microwave. See, I shouldn't be speaking. This is now a microwave.
And I didn't catch it. I didn't even catch them.
I bought a bylaw of the Board of Education of School District Number 48, Sea to Sky, called the board to adopt the annual budget of the board for the fiscal year 2025-2026 pursuant to section 113 of the School Act, RSBC 1996 C 412, as amended from time to time, called the Act. 1, the board has complied with the provisions of the Act, ministerial orders, and Ministry of Education and Childcare policies respecting the annual budget adopted by this bylaw. 2, this bylaw may be cited as School District Number 48 Sea to Sky Annual Budget Bylaw for fiscal year 2025-2026. 3, the attached statement 2 showing the estimated revenue and expense for the 2025-2026 fiscal year and the total budget bylaw amount of $87,992,511 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year was prepared in accordance with the Act. 4, statement 2, 4, and schedules 2 to 4 are adopted as the annual budget for the board of the fiscal year 2025-2026. Read a first time on the 14th day of May 2025, read a second time on the 18th day of June 2025, read a third time, passed and adopted on the 18th day of June 2025.
Thank you, Melissa. Second for that? Oh, wait, what?
9.
Oh, I didn't keep scrolling.
9.
Sorry.
Recommendation that the Board of Education approve School District Number 48 Sea to Sky Annual Budget Bylaw for the fiscal year 2025-2026 as presented.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Cynthia. Any objections? Okay, seeing and hearing none, that's carried. Do we have any questions of clarification from the public? Let's check.
Okay, there is a question from Christina Forsyth. Hi there, I'm not sure if I missed the annual review reporting of video surveillance on school grounds as stated in the policy below from Chris tonight. If mentioned, please let me know when and where it was on this evening's board meeting. Policy 708, privacy and information video surveillance. The district superintendent shall conduct an annual review and assess if the installation of operation of video surveillance cameras is accomplishing the purposes set on the policy to ensure that this policy and procedures are being adhered to. The superintendent will make an annual report to the district each June on the use of the video surveillance in the district.
I have never done that. I don't recall. That's interesting. I'm glad we're reviewing the 700 series, but I don't, I apologize. I'm happy to do that at the, we do have a special board meeting next week, and I can provide that report as an addendum. But I will though, and can assure you that when incidents happen, and we do look at video surveillance, there is protocol that we follow, of course, and if we are communicating with our CP about significant incidences that may require video evidence for corroboration of an incident or story, that we do so following all those procedures. It's pretty clear. But I actually don't recall that's a miss. Thank you, Christina. I'm unaware of that.
What was
that
the
policy? That's my miss. I don't recall hearing that when I was assistant superintendent either.
Policy
Do
708.
you recall any report?
No, I don't.
Surveillance?
I
Maybe you have to look at it.
5 years ago.
It says it's up for 2025-2026.
Yes.
Yes, 700 series for next year. So we will find out if we're still required to do that. I will respectfully report that in my previous district, I won't speak for Richmond because I can't remember, but for New Westminster, I can share that that was not reported out. And so I'll have to review that. I wonder if it's something that we're amiss or if that's a vestige from an earlier legislation. So thank you for the heads up on that, Christina, appreciate it.
And we can follow up with her once
100%.
we know.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll have a report for the next board meeting, special board meeting next week.
That meeting's getting bigger and bigger.
Thank goodness we have a date.
Okay, no other? Okay, so with that then, it is 8:40. And we have concluded the business of this agenda and we are